I'd like to show you a sensational attacking game played in round 2 of the Tata Steel Masters. Anish Giri with white against Domaraju Gukesh playing black. Gukesh, such a talent. 16 years old, a star of the Olympiad in Chennai last summer. Giri playing on his home turf in Anzay. And it's a Ragazin, so very solid theoretical start from both players. And after bishop g5, Giri doesn't go in for the really sharp stuff with bishop h4, but simply exchanges on f6 and plays e3. So you can see rock solid centre for white. Pawn on c4. This is classical chess, playing in the centre. Now he's given up the two bishops. Then again, you could argue that perhaps the queen is a little bit misplaced on f6. But this is a highly theoretical position. Black castles, rook c1. Good to have the rook on this, well, potentially semi-open file. Gukesh exchanges on c4. So there's starting to be a little bit of pressure on d5. Of course, there's a pin at the moment. But this kind of starts to clear the centre from black's point of view and puts pressure on the pawn on d4. Very well known position. C takes d4. Now, if white wants to play in a very tedious way, you can just take on d4 with the knight, and this ends up in an equal position. But Giri plays knight e4, keeping more tension. Knocks the queen back, pushes the bishop back to a5, and e takes d4. Now, when white has an isolated queen's pawn like this, that gives white more space and therefore some chances to attack on the king side. You can see at the moment there aren't any minor pieces on the king side, and there's an open diagonal there. And that has been used in the past, a strategy of trying to attack on the king side. So this is the idea. But it's a well-known position. And black finds counter chances by attacking the pawn on d4. So for example, if white pushes back this bishop like this didn't happen by the way, and rook e1, perhaps looking to prise open the d file and get some attack on the queen. Knight c6, this is happening too quickly. You can see black's pieces lined up against the pawn on d4. There are other ways to play this. Bishop a2, and this starts a strategy of playing to attack on this diagonal. So you can see the h pawn is used to make sure that g6 isn't coming, and the bishop comes back to b1. Mamedyarov has played like this. This is quite dangerous, although quite playable for black as well. So this is one of the big ideas of this variation, to try to attack somehow on the king side. But theoretically, black is doing okay. Giri plays here a new move, and it's a move which frankly is quite baffling. Rook c2. This is highly unusual. If you feed this into a computer, then some computer engines don't even consider this move at all. But some versions of Stockfish, not all versions of Stockfish, I've had a check online, but some versions of Stockfish like this move. So it's a computer-generated idea. I think a human would find it very hard to find this move because it looks a little bit ugly, blocking the queen. But there is a very serious point to it. So let's have a look. First of all, what happens if black just attempts to attack this pawn? The bishop comes back, bishop b6, so 3 pieces attacking the pawn. Well, you can play rook d2. That's actually very secure, and that already shows a very nice reason for putting the rook from c2 to d2. d5 is potentially coming, and that'll open up this diagonal. Don't forget rook e1 as well, and that's a beautiful constellation of major pieces on the E and D files. And suddenly it feels as though these pieces are kind of way out of the action if white is about to break open the position. Probably with rook e1 first. Okay, so instead, well, Gukesh had a big think here and played bishop d7. And now rook e2. Okay, we can see another excellent location for this rook on the e-file. So instead of the rook coming here, don't forget there's a bishop on a5, then the queen's rook comes over to the e-file. If, or as earlier we saw, if white pushes this bishop away to try to get in rook e1, then black gains time to attack that pawn. So that's the rationale behind this. It's very interesting. Bishop c6. This is the problem piece on c8, but it's found this excellent diagonal. Queen c2. So the queen comes to this diagonal, and well, this is where white often attacks. And this is already a really critical position. It's interesting that such a critical moment arrives in the game at a really early stage. This is only move 16. But how Gukesh plays here is very important. Well, what about just bringing this knight into the game? Well, this didn't happen, I think, for good reason, because d5 breaks open the e-file. E takes d5, knight g5 opens this up, opens the diagonal. Too dangerous. Or bishop takes d5, and again, same thing. This discovered attack is just too much. Okay, so knight d7, the move you want to play to bring the knight over to the king side, it's not working. Okay, what about just exchanging here? If this is a problem piece, well, this is interesting. This is possible. But white can start attacking on these light squares. And rook d1. It's not so simple. And now knight h4. And this knight potentially can come in here. Don't forget a little sacrifice to open up this diagonal. Maybe the rook swings across. I mean, I can understand why Gukesh would probably be terrified of this. All white's pieces are in play. My computer likes rook c8 here. But, the queen can move here. I mean, it's still very double-edged position. Okay, so this is the position. Queen c2 has just been played. Gukesh played bishop b6. Rook e1. I mean, what an impressive lineup of pieces here. This looks absolutely terrifying. White is, well, let's see what he's trying to do. Gukesh is impressed. And he appreciates what is coming in this position. King h8. He's trying to step off this diagonal. But I'm afraid it doesn't help him. Okay, have a little think. I'll have a slurp tea. You have a think about this position. White play. What did Giri do next? Here we go. Knight g5. Threatening mate on h7. It could not be more direct. Pawn takes. There's no alternative really. You can, if you try to close the diagonal, white just crashes through here. I mean, white's going to take here and then take on e6. I mean, black has, apart from the queen, there are no defensive pieces on the king side. So anyway, knight g5 just played. Pawn takes knight. And this is impressive. Giri sacrifices a rook in order to break through. So he's a rook and a piece down, but there is no good defense. If queen f8, Knight takes g5. This is absolutely crushing. I guess the queen could come here to defend this, but I imagine that move followed by queen h5 is the end of the story. So Gukesh decided just to give up the queen. It's his only chance. Now, he has 2 rooks and a bishop against the queen. So if he can just bring these into play, then he'll be okay. But, well, let's see what happens. What about knight d7? Well, then knight takes g5, threatening mate. It's all happening on these light squares. Knight f6, only defense to cover this. Knight f7, check. And simple discovered check. Okay, white is winning easily. Therefore, Gukesh decided has to exchange pieces. Has to just eliminate some of white's attackers. Now, Giri could recapture, but in fact, well, he invested almost half an hour in this position. He had enough time, but I think that was very wise. Because taking the bishop, that could still be tricky. Queen f5, excellent calculation. Threat, queen h3, followed by mate. And if bishop h5, then queen takes g5, that's going to be mate as well. If g6, that gets taken, queen h6, mate threatened. So Gukesh had to play bishop e4, just to distract the queen. Now it's still 2 rooks and a knight against the queen. But, you know, there is still a problem here with this queen coming in and then mate on the h-file. So simple development simply doesn't work. Queen here and mate next move. Gukesh took on d4, but as we'll see, that meets a sticky end. Instead, rook e8 keeps black in the game, but white has a wonderful rolling initiative here. So this looks to open up the h-file, and if knight d7, you take here, threat, queen h4, so black has to give up rook for bishop. Now this does just about hold on for black. But with queen and, well, at the moment it's 3 pawns against rook and the 2 minor pieces. But this should be winning for white because black is so passive here. Okay, black gets back this d pawn, but the king is still in huge trouble because at some moment, if that knight moves away, then queen h5 and g6 is going to be deadly. And here, well, the king is safe on g4, and those pawns can advance. It must be losing. And if that knight stays there, then you can take here. I mean, I don't think black can hold that position. In any case, the game finished like this. Rook takes pawn. Now, take a little bit of care. Queen f3 guards d1, threatens, well, a variety of, well, 2 checks basically. So g4 stops the queen coming to the h-file. Queen f8 check. Bishop f5 check. Doesn't make a difference if it's g6 or this move king h6. The point is that bishop returns here to cover d1, so there's no checkmate. And now white has a big threat. So here Gukesh actually resigned, and it wasn't too soon. White is completely winning. So for example, if, well, let's say rook d2, well, you can just check and take the rook, but actually it's forced mate. Whoops, stuff falling off my desk. Check here. King comes up, queen f6, or king h5. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. What else is there? Not a lot, actually. Okay, let's try knight c6. Well, you can take the rook in the corner. It's even better to play like this, threatening queen g6 mate. And, well, if knight e7, white picks up the knight with check. And, well, this, again, you know, this is just too much for black. Okay, what about rook d7? Well, this ends up in mate. Let's finish there. I think I've demonstrated that black is completely lost by this stage. So that's a nice checkmating finish. So what a crushing game by Giri. And just come back to this opening novelty. Rook c2. Such an interesting idea. And clearly preparation. But I have to say, the way that he finished off the game and got this attack rolling with knight g5 is just superb. Now I'm recording this in the middle of the round actually. I just wanted to try and post this as quickly as possible. So I can't give you the rest of the scores, but hopefully I'll give you an update later. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.